If you are looking for FC25 coins as well as other game keys, currencies, gift cards, and more, check out u7buy.com. Doing so via the link in the description would really help me out. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. This one's going to be a little different. I've got some replay analyses that I want to go through with you. This one's going to be partially a celebration of the podcast that I'm on, and partially a celebration of the fact that we've hit over 1,000 subscribers, which I'm over the moon about. I genuinely cannot believe. We're going to talk about that a little bit towards the end of the video, so do stick around for that. Now, the podcast celebration, I'm on a podcast called TheFUTShow. That's with DifferentStokes and Alexian IQ, both on Twitter, and they make some of their own content as well. We've got the podcast on Spotify and on iTunes. We've got a Discord for it. We've got a Twitter for it. And we're putting out content once every Monday and once every Thursday. Monday's a content pod, so like the SBCs and the promos that we're getting and all of that. And Thursday is a gameplay pod, so kind of what we're experimenting with in-game, how we're feeling about it, all that stuff. I'm very excited about it. It's been a phenomenal experience so far. I'm with two great other guys, and just a little bit of a plug there, but I wanted to also kind of analyze their two games. So I'll have that coming up here in this video, but also I want to extend this out to all of you as a subscriber special. We're going to be offering some replay analysis for you as well. So stick around for the end of the video if you're excited about that. Anything you need to know will be in the description of how to sign up for that, as well as my Discord. But yeah, absolutely. I hope you all enjoy. Once again, thank you all for the support that you've shown recently, and I'll catch you at the end of the video if you want to hear more about all that. Alright, so taking a look at Steve's gameplay here. Once again, Steve is a member of the podcast I'm on. That's TheFUTShow. We've got Steve, Alex, and I. All of the information will be in the description if you want to find any of that. I do highly recommend the podcast. I've enjoyed my time doing that just immensely. I've never actually done one before, and everybody's receptive to it really well, and it's phenomenal working with these two. So we'll take a look at the game here. Normally how I do these is I let it run for a little bit, just kind of understand the flow of the game, and then we run back and kind of analyze what happened first. But I like just getting into the game a little bit, because if you pick apart everything, like, from the get-go, if I'm like, well, that was an offside pass, let's talk about it, then it's like, well, let's get the context of the match, because I think that's important for kind of how you're feeling, like if you're feeling under pressure, how the game's moving generally. It's an interesting shot from Aspas there. Yeah, we've got Gregor Kobel doing things I wish he could do better in real life. So I have had Steve get, kind of pull him over to my playstyle a little bit, so we've got a similar selection of players. There's that Miyama, which has been highly recommended to me, and I just haven't because Steven Afsharour with 5-star skills and Trickster Plus, but we've got Amaras, we've got a Kimmich, which is very much my card. We've got an Evo Malo, we've got Pichon. This team looks pretty familiar to anybody who's watched my stuff. So I think I'm noticing a pattern of one of the biggest problems I have with my own game is kind of like playing into the same patterns, which those patterns are pretty easily defended by the opponent. So we'll go ahead and go back through here and start. Let's take a look. Like, as we're moving through here, this is all okay. We'll play it back into pressure. You're probably expecting a better touch from Milo here. He's not going to do it because he's coming from I think that's from tech. So I was a little bit of a heavy touch coming off of the tech move. Steve did mention that the gameplay was a little bit heavy as he was recording this. But also, we got to think about what we're trying to accomplish here. Because we're trying to... It looks like the cut is right back into where Konate's guarding, which is obviously going to be the spot that he defends the best. So there are two kind of schools of thought here. One is that the space is going to be, back across, and because Konate's a little, committed here, you might think going against his body momentum in behind would be the most effective thing to do here. That said, if you get into this space, because this is going to take a little bit of time, and then maybe you try to do that pass to the through ball, The amount of time this takes to get over here means that pass probably isn't on anymore. That gives time for Konate to get back or somebody else to guard. So like this is fine, but the more direct, like advantageous attacking move here, I think is more if we can pull Konate out and then do that small move here and then the pass through. Because as we're seeing, I think that's Miyama here. The actual pass on would be if we could just get up here and then that one down. So anything, what I would do here is slow down with Milo, make Konate go, oh, you've stopped, you've got no momentum, let me move in and tackle you at that point. And as Konate's really committing, that's when you take a heavy touch, not a heavy, but like maybe a sprint touch or something that just gets off to the side. This could be an L2, R2, something like that. Little touch over, there's your passing lane. I think that's a utilizing the run that's actually being made situation, something that could be done better. Got the transition back on defense here. That's all right. That's just kind of a recognition thing. I do this all the time. I'm not going to be too harsh about it. I mean, it looks like it's going to be an okay run, and then it's not even necessarily an offside trap. It looks like Konate stays about the same position, but Pichon's a little more aggressive than you might expect on that run there. The timing on those is really hard, because if you're a little bit earlier, then you'd maybe not be making a successful pass. That, nothing really to criticize, just one of those passes, or one of those tackles that falls back to the opponent. Steve is Div 3. Which personally is like my favorite, like Div 3 and Div 2 are kind of my favorite divisions to coach with. Because we've got a lot of the basics down. You can see like we're working some passing ideas, we've got like the overlap, we've got some decent connections there. You see me do that move a lot between like the fullback and the winger. That's a really good run from Miyama there, from deep, by the way. So hard to pick up. The pace of goalkeepers this year is really ridiculous, so it's frustrating here when they kind of like almost in a way give up defending you and just rely on the speed of goalkeepers rushing out. But something I think I'm going to talk about a lot here, so I'm not going to go over it too much on this one, but taking your space with dribbling is more important this year than ever. So when I'm dribbling, and this is something I really have to work on too, you're not trying to be face up with defenders. Like if there's a pocket of space, move into that pocket. So I'd probably, and again, I wouldn't necessarily in my own game do that, but I'd probably move up into the biggest gap there. A pretty easy way, if you're struggling with dribbling, a pretty easy way to do it is just wherever the biggest space is right now, move there. Because as you move into that one, the opponent's going to go, well, that's a really big pocket. I'm going to have to do something to pull my players out of position to make that no longer have so much room on the field. And as they pull their players out of position to cover that gap, it creates a gap somewhere else. So I think we'll talk a lot about that. Can you also use the tactics board? You've dreamed of being featured on that. We'll see if a good opportunity comes up. Maybe one of the patterns of play here. So that, I don't even know what type of pass that is, actually. Like a double tap square or something? Maybe it just gets deflected. But I would never think to do that. It works for you, so I'm not going to knock it. That's okay. This is the same kind of concept, though, where, like, this year, dribbling close to the defenders is worse than ever because the defenders have, like, that as a defensive move doesn't make any sense because they're guarding Mahrez moving right and left here. Like, you're completely guarded, whereas in real life, like, if they commit one of their legs to one side, then you've got the other way to go. Like, no, they're completely guarding both there. So this year with dribbling, instead of being face up or like directly kind of right near the defenders where it's like half a yard of space, I would do everything I can to just like, same concept with the move with Kimmich before. Move up here. As you move in there, the opponent will also pull their player out of position, and that should create a bigger gap to go back down here because you're never going to get through here. In past FIFAs you kind of could, but like that's not enough space anymore. So you're just trying to turn it from that much of a gap into like that much of a gap. Anything you can do to get this guy over here. And as you're dribbling away, you don't have the same threat of they can make any kind of tackle because they're right next to you. So in past FIFAs, I would happily keep like half a yard of space-ish between me and the defender and be very, very comfortable and confident that I could hold onto the ball, dribble around them, pull out any skill move. This year, because dribbling's a little less consistent and the tackling is so effective, instead of this half yard of space, I always want to keep more like a yard or yard and a half. Maybe not quite that long, but like, yeah, we're just trying to bump it from that to like that or that. I'd say this is kind of the range you're looking for, if that makes sense. Because this much of a gap this year, especially if that's anticipate plus Konate, which it is, that's the level of reward one. This I just can't trust. As you dribble up there, you might also be able to use Miyama's looking like phenomenal off the ball runs there. I don't know if that was manually cued or not, but oh, that's all decent. Nice. That's all decent defending, though. That's, yeah. So we stay in goal side. Like, where's the danger here? The danger is probably more, like, going this way and then trying to play this through ball than anything. Adama, never really going to score here. Not much of a threat to score from here, especially not if you're close enough. So we're just maintaining a good shape while keeping the body, you know, Adama's facing this way, Konate's facing this way. It's all good shape here. That's exactly what you want. This is just, like, do you want to risk a tackle? Well, anticipate plus Konate, you probably can. Opponent gets greedy, you also get a little greedy there. But if you're going this far into them, you probably do want to be pressing circle just to make that tackle. Because if you're just running in without pressing the button, they really don't do it this year. But if you if you don't want to commit to the tackle here, maybe you think it could be a pen or something, probably just staying a little bit further away and just doing a jockey instead. Now you pull back and cover the pass really well. That's pretty much just the AI doing it for the opponent. But you do got to be wary of that. That could be a square pass, or you've got enough time here with Konate to make a little dribble to one of the sides. Maybe just go back to the goalie, or you move down a little bit. You could go over like kind of like that pass or something. That one's just a little too covered to Miyama. That's okay. These are really I hate those. It eventually kind of gave you the ball, but forced you to clear it anyway. This, I was going to say, is a little aggressive with Jorginho, but you move back, and the opponent isn't facing that way at all, so that doesn't matter. There's no reaction time to, the first touches are so bad, and are you really supposed to do a first-time pass there? That's rough. So this is interesting, because as I'm watching, I'm immediately thinking of switching to him and pulling over there, just to guard this pass, because I'm thinking that's the most likely option. That's covered. By doing this, I would open up a bigger gap for the pass to, I think that's Havertz up in the center there. But considering he's surrounded by two, I wouldn't care about that. If you're a little bit more worried about it, though, I understand, let's get our normal midfield shape here of this triangle. And just covered off the immediate passing lane, but I would say normally I would just be a little more aggressive. Not that it makes much of a difference, and that pass gets played anyway. Yeah, the opponent had no other way through. The rest was defended well. It's a good run for Milo. Chips are normally effective this year. I'm glad that chips do exist. It's been a while since we've had a game with decent chip shots. Pichon does actually have decent support ability, so I'm assuming this is advanced forward support because I think he's been trying my exact formational setup. Yeah, advanced forward support drops off a little bit. That allows Shadow Striker ++ to make the run instead. That's all really well done. Got a little gap there with the opponent's line becoming no longer a perfect back line. Or a flat back line, let's say. Yes, the down the wing sprint guaranteed way to progress the ball down the field. I'm very familiar with that. Interesting that Jorginho doesn't get that for you. Now, he doesn't have intercept, but, like, I would be upset about that. You're almost a little lucky Konate gets that for you, but, like, that wasn't your fault. Let's see. Oh, you're close. You've got the right idea. Because if you escape here, you've got such a massive gap there with Milo. You might be able to do like that onto Miyama here. Same kind of, like this tackle. That's Bellingham. That's a tackle from somebody who doesn't have anticipate. And that's quite like the leg span. That's so much reach. That's kind of what I'm talking about. This year, the dribbling, just normally in any other year, this would be fine, or just about any other year. This year, you just got to create that bigger distance instead of that gap. We're looking at that space again. Anything you can do, just, I know this would put it on his right foot, but the pass is easy enough from that point anyway. It's hard to criticize that, though. That does rely on Robertson having good enough dribbling to make that and everything. Oh, you let him get inside. You almost recognize it. But I would really just prioritize that as quick as you can. Maybe you don't quite realize, like, how quickly you get control of Robertson to move him back down inside, but that's all interesting. If Konate makes his tackle with his left foot, it's fine. He decides with his right, so he's not successful. That's always annoying. Little thing from the back saves you there. Beautiful goal from Milo, the unicorn. I hope this card gets future Evos, because I would love to have him in my team later on in the year, but he has been pretty firmly replaced by Rush Neymar now. Let's see what we could have done better here. Opponent's aggressive, pull somebody out. So when you're sprinting, anything you do from here is pretty much heavier. Now there are a couple of skill moves you could do to escape this and just go back. By the time any of those skill moves perform though, this would be successful and holding on to the ball would be better, but you can't really do this and then get that pass off because the skill moves are going to take a little bit of time and be a little heavy. So this on the outside is definitely a move to just keep going. That's a little bit of a downside of the types of players we use where they're not going to be that fast here. Now, the opponent defends it pretty well. They end up defending very, how do you call this? Variable? They're defending multiple things at once. So, like, they're positioned well enough to be able to move to this if they need to. They can cut in. They can move back. So they're flexible. They can defend multiple things. They're really just kind of showing you this way, but the idea, the danger of that is as you're moving this way, they're corralling you this way. So, like, this just maintains a neutral shape the whole time, and you don't really have any connection to go back. By the time they're doing this, they're cutting off even more of the field. So you can't really get behind and then do something from here. So the desire to cut back here makes sense. And, of course, the inclination is if this is successful, you might have a really effective move down the center. Milo will probably be involved by then, too, so you've got great stuff, because there's such a gap here. So, like, the risk is yours to weigh. If you want to try something like this, I just think it'd have to be a skill move. You can do a fake shot back, and it can be a pretty simple one. You can do a drag back. There's a couple directional nutmegs you can do. You can do a fake shot stop and just kill your momentum here, or just tap L1, kill it here. I would do, like, the L2 fake shot stop, or just press down on the right stick. Not press down. Down and hold. So back of Miyama here, which is the left side. So I guess left and hold the right stick. And that does that little, like, oh, I'm going to fake going this way, and kind of fake going this way, like the little ball roll stationary move. That might give you the right momentum to move behind. But you can weigh that yourself, like, big, little bit of, like, mediocre risk, major reward. Like, chance of being tackled, but then great ball behind. Or you just do, like, a ball roll and you escape out this way, and you just guarantee possession. So it depends on your own playstyle, the state of the game. Obviously, you do want to end up going and scoring one. The only other thing you can do here is instead of getting into this shape, you've actually got space to take your touch inside. So you can start facing up the opponent here. If the opponent decides to take that tackle, that's where you can go, oh, okay, I'll take a sprint touch and just get behind. I'll take that space behind there. Or if they go, as you're facing this way, they're like, actually, I'm going to guard the idea of you getting back this way. That's where you've got, okay, their momentum is that side. We can go back against that momentum, and that might give you the same kind of through ball, but from a little bit earlier on the field. Might be even a little bit more effective from back here. As you're faced up, then we kind of end up in that situation where you've got less options. I think from here, you maintain a little bit more options. You're a little more in control. I would probably just try that face up and then take one of those two options, depending on how the opponent defends it. So let's keep going here. It's decent try. I mean, that's all defended just fine. Opponent's very direct, so pretty easy to defend in situations like that. That's decent. Okay. So something I'm bad at this year. Remember when I said, like, move into the pockets? Well, then you gotta utilize the pockets. Because when you're in a space like this, we're not quite that big. But like, even more than that. All of this zone right now is yours, and you could even argue like this is kind of yours too. But all of this is controlled by you. And like, in a way, this is 5v5 if you want to count it that way. They've got 3 players here, 2 here, and you've got 3, 1, and 1. But you are like severely outnumbering them here. Going forward this way, what's this going to accomplish? Because what you're doing here, if you get it here, and even if you turn successfully with Malo, and as we move with Malo down the field, well, you've gone from attacking with 5 players to attacking with 2. It's going to take a little while for Mahrez to make that run from there. You know, you make this pass, he goes, and then a second later he'll start getting connected. That's how it works this year. That's not a Mahrez thing. That's not like a roll plus, or it is how the rolls are coded, but like, you know, the plus would do this even faster than anybody else. So it's not, again, not like a Mahrez thing. If you had no pluses, I think they'd go, I'll take 3 or 4 seconds, then we'll move. Anyway, it's just that every move, and I should be able to show it. Okay, he kind of bursts forward. But I think that's because Pichon stops her run. Because this game has this weird thing where it's only allowed to have one player making a run at a time. So like this run, the AI is saying, I'm not making a run anymore, we'll have somebody else do it. Like it takes a little longer for Miyama to make her. That's kind of what I talked about. There's this like, I'll linger a little bit, I'll go up. Strangely, I'm going to walk into, who is that, Vinny or someone? I'm going to walk into this player. I'm not sure who that is. And then start moving forward. But anyway, the idea is if you move forward here, you're disconnecting from the rest of your numbers. And then you get into this pocket and you're like, well, I'm going to have to take some time and delay. And it's been 3 or 4 seconds until this happens. So the tendency is always like, let's just get the ball forward as fast as possible. Because like, I want to attack. I want to be in these spaces. I don't want to be back here. We've got the numbers back there. And as, again, as I was talking about earlier, to finish up on that point, when you're in these pockets, the idea of moving into space is to do something with it. So you're in space and you move out of it immediately. You've got no pressure here. You've got no necessity to get forward. You can say the time, like, oh, you want to get as many chances as possible with the, you know, the fact there's only 20 minutes left in the game. But at 70 minutes, I wouldn't be making that decision. You know, it's like I've definitely got at least 4 or 5 attacks I can get left in this game. So let me still make sure I'm building these properly. But if you, instead of just moving forward right away, if we go this way, if we go this way, I can technically go back. I probably wouldn't. I'd do like, I might do this, like diagonal back and then forward again. And again, not always in all of my games. I'm like, some of this is definitely stuff I've got to integrate more, but the most effective thing I found, delay it a little bit. Just hold on to the ball. You've got space. You have no need to move the ball away from the space until this isn't space anymore. And in the best case scenario, this guy keeps controlling Bellingham, and he just kind of gets annoyed that you're holding onto the ball. You're just lingering. You're not doing anything with it. And he just goes, you know what? It's been like 2 seconds. You're still there. I'm going to do this. I'm just going to go and like try to challenge you right away. In which case you go, oh, you want to come out to me? Little move to the side. And again, you're in a phenomenal position for this because as he's doing this, you probably have that pass on. You probably have that pass on. You definitely have that pass on. You almost certainly will still have that pass on. You've got multiple escapes, so they're defending literally one thing, and you've got like 4 others you can do. There's no danger to that. You've got multiple ways to escape. And as they do that, well, they just made their flat midfield line of 4. This is probably 4-4-2 or 4-4-1-1. They made this line into like that line. And the effectiveness of this is going to be so much greater than attacking against this, because this line's going to drop as kind of a unit. But this line absolutely wouldn't. So like this player is going to track back as it's a little hard to draw, but like with the space here, it's going to take a lot longer for this player to get back. The shape's never quite going to be right. This player will probably move inside slightly to cover the gap, but like not enough. It's not really going to have much impact into play. So the best thing the opponent can do is like take this player and just try to do the role of 2 center mids at once. Yeah, that's best case scenario, assuming they just move out to you, and then you've got a really easy move through. Worst case scenario is they just maintain the shape, which has no bearing on you taking your space here. You just continue taking your space. All right, and then eventually just the AI is going to shift them around, or one of your players will make a good run, and you can get through it easily, but maybe poorly. You know, like the shape maintains here, but then Malo goes from here to here. And this still isn't going to be the most effective. Like maybe he has to take the ball with his back turned this way, so it takes him a while to turn around, and by then the midfield line is going to drop anyway. But like it's safe again. There's no problem with it. You're just kind of, again, keeping the game in a neutral state, but you're in control here. You've got so many things you can do. You've got so many options. If you think about this like a game of chess, if we're saying like the checkmate is in, it could be in like 5 moves, or it could be in like 16 moves. It could be down the line. You can wait for that 16 moves. You've got no indication to like take a risk to get the game out of your favor for the chance of like immediately winning the game. No, just take it slow. You've got like more players in the opposition, right? Like in a game of chess, multiple things you can do. Just take it slow. The opponent's going to have to slowly whittle down their resources, and then eventually you'll just kind of win by default. Obviously, this isn't chess, but the analogy is, or the opponent could like take a completely selfish, or not selfish, but like risky strategy and try to just like turn the game in their favor, and then you win in that 5 moves instead of in the 16. The other thing they can do is to maybe like fake this and then just run back anyway, in which case that's like not the perfect advantage in the case of just that, but a little bit better than that, you know, or a little bit better than the flat midfield line. Couple things you can do. It's just, I think we get it. I wanted to spend so much time on that because I think we get in, it's a little lucky with foul. We get in such a like default state of mind of playing the game of just like, oh, I have the ball. That means I'm on offense. I should go forward with it. Let's get down the field. And it's like a decent amount of the time, you can make getting down the field even more effective if you make your moves further back on the field, you know, pull the opposition out of space even more. And let's consider this play here. So this all looked really good. And this is partially like, it's Diego Aspas, so it doesn't really matter. But like, you see pulling him out of space gives you maybe a little more space somewhere else. A little lucky on the skill move, but that's perfectly fine. This is the same thing I'm talking about. Like, the opponent is... It's a bit of a weird shape, but I mean, it's an effective one in this case. Like, you don't have any immediate way through. Let's just consider this basically a flat back line. They are set up in shape, and you're going, you know what? I want to attack them in their shape. This is how the defenders want to be. As an attacker, you're basically communicating, you know what? I also want you to be like this. and I'm just going to go through it. I'm just going to attack you as you are. And what I would much prefer to do is say, hey, you're in the shape. I don't like this. I'm going to do anything I can do to eliminate this. So let's get this guy out of position, and then we're creating the same like gap in that shape again, which means there's some way to easily play through that. We can do like pass there and a pass there. We can just dribble around that way and do through ball. You know, we can try to manipulate this player to go over this way and just dribble behind, anything like that. If they don't pull themselves out of shape, well, you can kind of force them to. That's where instead of dribbling immediately into, you take your move up this way, and then this guy moves over here, and that's where you keep enough of a space here, you know, we were talking about keeping that yard or yard and a half, and then you cut back against them. And it's just the, you know, if you get through here, there's not that much of a gap, but if this opponent is shifted just that much to the side, all of a sudden that's a gap you can get through. And if it's not there by default, you got to create that a little bit. So shift them one way, open that gap up, back the other. You've also got a couple passing lanes that you could at least use as threats. Maybe you're stuck in the mindset here of dribbling. Maybe you just think dribbling is going to be the best way to go. Both of those are fine. But if you go, you're almost announcing yourself as a dribbler, and then that's what you do commit to. If you could get it on his left foot and are like, maybe I'm going to make that pass, instead of this player running out to you, they might just go, you know what? It looks like that pass is on, I'm going to guard that. And that may make, you know, same kind of idea of getting more space. Instead of this much space, you might have that much space, and maybe that's all you need to take the dribble. So it's all for me about shifting that opposition around. I think you've got a lot of opportunities this match to try and create that space in just let's say, more killer way. Now that's all decent, and then you get done by the on-rushing goalkeeper again. So a little lucky on the tackle. That's a great touch from Mahrez, and I'm going to just hype up that card because there's not many cards in the game that can do this. You get a little lucky that they don't rush at you immediately, but that's fine. I mean, happens all the time with me dribbling. You've got to do your risks at some point. I'm not like, as an analyst, as we're doing the replays here, I don't want to be like, you got to be perfect on every single dribble. Everything's got a little bit of risk to it. So like here you're saying, I'm going to bet that the opponent's not going to just rush at me and make a tackle, and you're correct on that bet, and that's fine. You know, you do give the opponent the chance to go ahead and tackle, they don't. And that's that great little shift to the side, because here, as the opponent's committing there, that's the dribble down, and it's this commit, it's the existence of that action, which you force them to make, that makes this effective. So that's all good. Unfortunately, the opponent's like, I'm just going to hold down triangle, in which case, last year you'd have no problem, you know, if you knew how to do it, absolutely no problem to dribble around the goalkeeper. There are actually many, many ways to do it. I hate how effective on-rushing goalkeepers are in situations like this. Not every time, sometimes it's fine. But this is ridiculous. You should be able to out-dribble this pretty easily. Just did all I said. You couldn't do anything. Literally 0 shots for the opponent. Chat saying this is working. If you stick around with the channel, there's a guaranteed proof that this is the best way to play in FIFA. No, but this is definitely the way I find most fun. And if you're trying to play a little bit more like me, I do hope the analysis of stuff like this, of some of my own games, I do plan on doing that in the future, but also of some of yours, I do hope that will be helpful. I think having the, like, me looking at other players' playstyles is going to be useful. Now this is pretty much exactly what we're talking about. Strange tackle selection from the opponent. I don't know what that stand tackle in open space is doing. But this is the, like, everything else we've seen in this game is you going, oh, the opponents are set in their shape. Let me just go ahead and attack into that shape. This one you don't. You've got this pocket of space, you utilize it, and all of a sudden, instead of the opponents being in that shape, they pull one of their players out of it. Pichon with great attacking positioning to move on back. That's all very good. Get beaten by the on-rushing goalkeeper again. I don't want to criticize the first couple. You know, beating the goalkeeper is rough, but you have gotten done by 3 rushes out by the goalkeeper at this point. So all I can say is, you know, This could have been a first-time finesse. She is left-footed. You could just do one of those. That should be a pretty easy goal. I think on the on-rushing goalkeeper, the Travella's near posts are a little bit harder. You could try a chip. You do have a passing option here. You could try to just out-dribble, maybe get a pass from there, or maybe just move up this way, and by then it's a very easy shot on net. Yeah, not going to criticize that too hard, because you're playing a little bit under pressure, but that's definitely ways that this could be converted as a goal. Now her first touch is a little heavy here too. That's actually strange. I guess I take it back a little bit. I don't want to criticize too heavy because you do kind of go for the finesse idea. That she basically never does. I guess at that point you have to convert from your shot to just have the reaction time to turn it into a fake shot or a ball roller. Maybe you can try just forcing that pass across. She might be able to complete that. Probably not, but maybe. Brilliant driven pass into the bounce. Oh my god. This video game. It's always the bounces in the opponent's favor, right? But then they pass it back to you. Almost get it back because VVD outrushes onto this. And Milo's first touch is weird on the interception. It's a nice move from Kimmich. Good. Pockets back here. Is that going to be utilized? A little late. You get a bit lucky on the strength there. What else could we have done? This is okay. You move it into a big pocket. Can we utilize the pocket? When you play out of it, you play kind of into space to get out of space again. So that's perfectly fine. Or get out of space. Get into open space again. Like sometimes it's fine to get the ball into a congested area and then you can play it out from there. It's perfectly fine. Now with the aggression the opponent has here, again, just a ball roll, you might be able to get the ball around Trent. Maybe a body feint or something, or even just a left stick dribble. Kimmich, press proven, decent enough dribbling stats. Anything like this, and you might be able to just take that more direct pass on Milo and have a quicker chance there. You take the safer option, that's okay. I think you're trying to drag the opponent out of position here, or maybe you don't realize the pass as soon as you could. But like, there's a little benefit at this point from turning this gap into that gap. This is already enough space for you to work in. So maybe like one more touch you can do, but you keep doing a couple. You know, I would not make this pass from this touch right now, because I think by the time the ball travels to Miyama there, I think in that time, the opponent will be able to turn around and close that space down enough. But one more touch out and then that pass back. By this time, like, that's fine. That's all the difference we're talking about. Like, no, yeah, that's fine right there. That goes a little bit too far. And I think once you go here, you're pretty committed to still getting it back this way. I think at this point, just take the safer option, do a move out this way, and just recollect. Maybe you can do this. Maybe you gotta go back or something. But yeah, definitely that would have been the move. Now from here, that's all okay. Little aggressive on that shot. I think Pichon, especially as VVD commits a little bit this way, I think she's good enough to do that turnaround, get it on her left foot. I think it's a low percentage shot doing that right-footed there at the near post. Yeah, that's all okay. That's all I'll criticize there. You could take more space with Miyama here, but that's hard to recognize. Like, is the opponent going to close you down here? Because if they make that decision, then you will kind of lose the ball here. But since they don't rush at you, you actually do have space to move inside a little bit more. But I'm not going to complain about that too much. Got another pause. We'll see the corner here. Short, that is what I love to see. That's not. Yeah, the opponent just defends that well enough. I think you end up stepping into them. So I talk about this a lot, where if you show one thing, then going back the other way is normally very effective. But as you're showing this way, the opponent isn't really committing to that. So what would make this cut back this way effective is if the opponent's going, oh, I have to guard the back move immediately. Because, like, oh, I'm worried about the pass over here, so I'm going to cut off that interception lane. And as their body shape is moved this way, then you can cut back inside of it very easy. As the body shape is here instead of out that way, that cut isn't on. If you want to go back here, you just feel more confident. You don't think Bichon can make that pass. I think she can, but maybe you don't have the confidence with it. If you want to cut back, this has to be this way. Because the body shape is enough into you that it's got to be away in some regard, and then maybe you can go down that way. Or you just keep going this way. Again, there's no qualms. Like, a lot of people will shy away from an option because it's not like the one they originally intended, or there was a more effective version of that available, and then that effective version got defended or got taken away somehow. What I mean is, like, you kind of probably want to do that, and this is mostly taken away. They're defending it well enough, I think. You still have this on, which is essentially the same move, but again, the less effective variation. But a lot of people will go, this one's gone, that means I've got no ability to go this way at all. All that's taken is this one. You do still have that on, so no need to play this one aggressive there. And that's Kimmich Anticipate Plus, great tackling, of course. That's always lovely when a player falls over. That's a little spammed, I think. Trying something that's not quite on. That's all okay. That's alright. I would do that a little different. This is a good space, but then as you move into it, it gets closed down a little bit. This is really a amount of time it takes to complete this pass. So by the time this gets over here, the amount of space that Sterling has isn't as great. But if you can play it through this way, and you do this little short pass, this pass instead of that one just being like half the length means there's actually less time to cover that space. So I would play through. Let's run that again. This is another, like, obviously you want to get forward. This is another instance, you've got space though, you might as well take it. I don't think you've got any need to play this quickly. Now, of course, the benefit of playing quickly is, like, if that was on, like maybe this defender wasn't here, so it's like, oh, actually, let's go ahead and try to get this ball through here while that gap still stays. But because there's no immediate, like, direct, let's go take that option on, there's no real harm in just taking your time. So you can do, like, just dribble up this way, maybe the opponent defends that way, and then all of a sudden you've got Malen. And now you're attacking instead of just with these two, maybe with these three. Now you've moved up this way, got the pass on to Malen. This defender has moved out a little bit. And now instead of just with 2 or 3 attackers, you've got a 4th added in. Maybe that makes the difference here. Or you can decide the other way. We can go this way and try to pull the opponent down that way. Keep that passing lane open. And by the time you do that, instead of this opponent able to turn back around this way, you know, they've committed out this way now. Again, you've got a bigger pocket back here. As we play through, you know, Sterling, it's just the, like, had we created that bigger pocket, I think you could make a dribbling option with Sterling or have more options on. But again, the existence of this is a little bit risky. They're a bit close. They could rush you down if you start a dribble. Or rather, you don't have the ability to sprint through here, right, on a dribble, right? Like, you can't just, oops, you can't just, you can't just commit to, like, sprinting forward here. So what you actually want to do is take your time, just kind of linger and wait for them to draw one of their players out, see if you can get gaps behind that way. And the linger ability here isn't really on because somebody's nearby. So you want to rush a little bit because that risk is there. Whereas had we done something to get this player out, you do have that linger ability. You can hold on to it maybe a little bit deeper and threaten a dribble from there, threaten a pass. You've got a couple more options on. Now what I would do, from this spot, what I would do, You've got your numbers down here, so I would probably not move into this space, because by the time you do, I don't think moving this way to move back into those numbers would be very effective. It doesn't look like, considering these two are on top of each other and there's a lot of defenders over here, I don't think there's going to be a good run made there. I'd probably do a give and go like that way, see if I can pass the ball down there, and then maybe Sterling on his own will run up there, or by that time maybe this player runs back. But because there's a little bit more of a gap over here than there is over here, I'd play into this one first and see if I could play out over there. Or just try that linger dribble anyway, but instead of being a little more direct, I'm going up this way, and just see how the play would develop from there. If that ends up not really working, I might have an outlet to Robertson and at least do the overlap on that side. Am I analyzing somebody's game? I'm analyzing Steve's game. Oh, come on in. The opponent's being so aggressive every time they're attacking, so at least defending's been easy enough for you. I don't have much to comment on here. So a little aggressive and maybe a little lucky the physical contact does slow down Aspas's run. If you recognize this a little quicker, instead of controlling Malin here, I'd swap to your fullback and just start guarding that, start getting goal side, or to Kanate and start getting goal side. Because as you wait and your AI is going to keep kind of the line around that halfway line, right? Because for the offside shot purposes, they're not going to just drop somebody. I would manually switch to somebody and start dropping them myself. Because that's where the danger comes from. But it's Aspas, he's pretty slow. Very unthreatening from the opponent. I don't really have, again, nothing really to comment on that one. Ooh. From here. This is one of those passes that looks like it's on and it isn't, because as you make this pass, you've got the option forward, but because they're trying, that's Rodrigo, I called him Vinny earlier. As he's tracking back with Rodrigo, the pass back is no longer on. So you've got two options here with Williams. You've got the pass forward, or you've got an escape. You can just dribble down that way. You can pass back that way, right? As you pass it to Robertson, you go from having two options on to essentially having none. Or maybe having one if you just move on outside again, which I'm seeing you're not really a fan of doing this game. Move back outside, even pass on the weak foot, should be able to complete that. Just escape from here. But you're playing through pressure, and that's not the way to do it. Attacks with less options are pretty much always less effective. If you can keep multiple things open, then your opponent has to defend multiple things, and then they have greater difficulty doing that. But here, you've limited yourself. You don't have like a passing option that's threatening, so they don't have to guard any kind of passing option. There's nothing for you to do, so they just run ahead and tackle, because dribbling into them is basically the only option you've had left. And like you just disconnect from your numbers. Your numbers are back here. They haven't really moved forward yet. You can keep with the rest of the players if you want. You can try moving back inside. You might have a cut that way and just see what run Sterling makes off of that. You could do cut inside, pass to Sterling, then the overlap to Robertson. So we can do that. He'll keep making that run. You can do that and maybe like threaten that run. Maybe the opponent defends that way and move on. It's always hard to predict like what would happen in a couple moves because it depends on what move the opponent ends up making, but I would move inside to where you've got the rest of your players and just see how the move develops from there. Yeah, opponent's so direct. Yeah, again, every time they're getting forward on offense. Nope. Now that's unnecessary. That seems like a panic, like you thought you would have a passing option on, and then everybody kind of runs away from you. I would probably try to play that quicker. Like from here, you might be able to make that pass right before the opponent selects this player, but as they select it, then this pass is immediately off. That's too threatening of an interception. And again, here in space, no real need to force that. you've got multiple options again. You do have Robertson as a ground pass. You've got Kanate. You get it to Kanate, he might be able to work the ball back inside. That's a heavy touch, or an effective heavy touch rather. It's actually really well taken from Aspas. I'm surprised by that. I think were you still controlling Kanate, that would be a tackle you'd be able to make. I'm not quite sure why you switch off of him. That's my only criticism of that there. That I all like. That could have been done better. And end a game. So with the threat to time, you do of course throw some of what I've been saying down the window, or out the window, and just get down the field as fast as you can. I would almost certainly be taking the overlap to Malin, because again, like, the game won't end if you're in that final third, so you want to get over there, but if you're lingering around here, the game can end. This pass should be on if you make that to Malin, especially if you do better to get it on Sterling's strong foot instead of his left. Or you might be able to do a little layoff to Pichon and then she plays the pass for you. Yeah, and just get on down the field. That's fine with a little give and go. Probably best to play this to Sterling first rather than Pichon. I don't know if you tried. That's okay. But these touches forward. This has been committed. You should recognize that this player's on the ground. They're not going to come back and get you. So you can just, from here, already start angling for that pass. If they end up taking that, then maybe you've got a little give and go with Pichon there. You can do like that. If they're aggressive with this player and defend it, then you've got, well, I'll just dribble this way. If they switch to like Teo and defend it, then you've got this outlet over here with Williams, because you might end up having this would be a numerical advantage. You just wait a little bit, and then this player gets forward, play that off there. Allow time for Robertson to make the run, do the overlap there. Got a couple things you can do. As it is how you've waited, instead of getting the ball to Williams here, you get it to him there. And it's just the being that close to the defender rather than that far away, which means you can't do that overlap immediately. And then we're out of time. So yeah, major things are just, you've got a lot of space, and then it's recognizing how to utilize it. In a game like this, you had good space between those opponents' lines, so like they were here and here. It's not like they were there and there a lot, so you had ability to play in between. It's just taking that space, not walking into wherever their line is and going, you know what, I'm gonna fight you face up. You're not gonna fight them, quote unquote, evenly on their terms. You gotta like pull them out of their shape, right? Gain some kind of advantage for yourself. The longer you take here too, the more runs get made off of you. As I was talking about earlier with like Mara's down here might not get forward and then Miyama didn't. Well, it was just kind of like Pichon made a run and then Mara's made a run and then Miyama made a run. And that's it, like it's in that order. So like 3 seconds for this to be made and then 3 seconds dedicated to this, whereas the AI is only able to do one thing at once, and then 3 seconds dedicated to this where the AI is only able to do one thing at once. Or if you just kind of linger a little bit further back, you allow time for some of these runs to be made, rather than like, I'll get forward and only one of them's up there with you. So hopefully that makes sense. More time held with the midfield means you might have better attacking options, more players getting involved in attack, rather than kind of disconnecting, getting away from everybody. And then you're able to pull them out of shape as well. So hopefully all that was useful, Steve. I would be curious if you take any of this into your game. We should do another one of these in the future. Can incorporate this into the podcast. Once again, that's TheFUTShow. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can find us all on Twitter. I've got my co-hosts' links in the description if you want to check them out. The podcast link is in the description as well to check out the actual show, which I do, again, highly recommend. We're putting out 2 videos every single week now. But yeah, again, hopefully this all was helpful. Alright, hopefully that was helpful. I believe there was some really good, insightful stuff in there. I think a lot of that will apply to most of you. But if you want to send in your own games, let's talk about that. So there will be a Google form in the description. If you want to record your own games, you've got to upload them on YouTube or some service like that. Send the link on over to me via that Google form so I'm able to keep track of all of your responses. Again, this is a subscriber special gift. We may do this down the line, but as a 1,000 subscriber special, I wanted to offer something to all of you. Depending on the amount of responses that we get, will depend on how many of you I'm able to get to. Obviously, if we get a bunch of these, then I might have to, unfortunately, select down to just a couple, but I'll do as many as I can, depending on how time permits and all of that. It may be a little while until I get to some of yours, again, depending on submissions, but I'll do my best with it. I do, again, hope this is helpful. It will be just one game per person, so I'm not going to do, 2 matches, and I'd prefer not to do like a half of one game and then a different half of another. I'd hope it's all one, but if that's how you're able to record or all of that, we'd talk about it. I am available on Discord if you want to contact me through there about this. But yeah, this is something I've thought about for a while, and as we've hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm over the moon. I genuinely cannot believe. If you're a little bit newer to the channel, especially it's because the subscriber count has just risen and risen. I planned on doing this about a week ago, and even as it is, we're at 1,080, so it just, again, keeps going up. Thank you all. But if you're newer to the channel, it was, I think, 2 or 3 months ago where I was only at 170. So the whole year of making content, I only started making stuff for the back half of FIFA, FC 24. And my subscriber count goes from 25 to 170, and then the new game hits, it goes up to 200-300, and all of a sudden November we explode from 200 to 800-900 something. So the growth for me has been just absolutely absurd. Thank you all for the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, anybody who's sharing it, anyone who's checking out the Discord, anybody who's showing up every day in the live streams, any amount of support you've showed. I cannot believe. I can only hope that I get to maintain all of you, that I keep putting out stuff that's worthwhile to keep checking on out. Hopefully this will be a different avenue to do that if we do this kind of replay analysis stuff. I plan on uploading some of my own games. We might do Alex and Steve down the line if they feel like sending some more games in. Maybe if they feel like what I did was helpful and we can do a check-in to see if they're implementing any of the stuff I talked about. Yeah, some of my own games and then some of theirs, but also yours, getting a well-rounded experience where just kind of the more games we do, the more playstyles we observe, hopefully the more well-rounded and better we can all become as we do it. But yeah, the support and the interest in the channel has been just phenomenal to me. It's not only has all the numbers gone up, which is great, but the way all of you have taken to it, where you're appreciating the style, we're all trying to do something a little different, where you're reaching out and saying, hey, this actually really has helped, this is how it's helped. I do find the encouragement to keep making this kind of stuff. All of that's really driven me to keep going, because this game's tough. I think we can all admit that. Sometimes it gets to me. I'm a little bit more upset playing this year than I have in some past years, but it's the existence of all of you that keep going with the support that really makes me want to keep going. And I wanted to give back. So hopefully this is something you all would enjoy. Yeah, check out the description for that Google form if this is something you're interested in. And I'll try to get to as many as you can. So thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. 1,080 again as I sit here. The number keeps going up. And yeah, if you've got any questions, any comments, anything, do get at me once again in the comments here in YouTube or at my Discord. You can DM me if you want, or you can just check out the server as it is. I'm on Twitter as well. Everything's in the description there, but hopefully this is helpful. I'm really excited to do this. I get to watch some of your gameplay, and it's going to be, good faith in the way that I did Alex and Steve's. I'm not a criticizer or a critiquer in that way. It's not negative. This is all kind of trying to build stuff up, so I'm really excited about this, and I want to give something back to all of you, so if you have watched this far, I do appreciate all the support. Like, comment, subscribes, all of that stuff, as I say at the end of every video. I'll catch you in the next one here. I've got some more tutorials and settings videos coming up here shortly, so stay tuned for that. I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy. Have a good night. Peace.